All right, great. So thanks everyone for joining. As I mentioned, this meeting is being recorded, and Selena will be sending around some information tomorrow or in the next few days. But I will pass it over to John to kick us off.
Thanks, Rose, and apologies for not being on camera. Feeling a little bit under the weather today, and I'm going to be dropping off just to go see a doctor to take care of just that. Want to thank the DOT for their continued partnership and support throughout this program. We wanted to dedicate this office hour session to go through guidance to improve submissions for work zone safety and traffic control in your application process, and potentially address any other questions that you might have. Certainly, I wouldn't leave any questions just for this call. If you have any others, feel free to reach out whenever. Additionally, by way of our partners, our resources, technical resources, Lero, we have added a resource, Frank Totillo, that will help with your submissions if needed. So feel free to utilize them. I'll hand it over to maybe Aaron for a quick intro to Frank.
Thank you, John. Hello, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Aaron Stasko. I'm with Lero Hill. As John mentioned, we have Frank Totillo, also Lero Hill resource, who's now brought on board to assist with some Perm 75 and DOT related questions or items that you may have. So Frank has been in the industry for a number of decades. He's been with Lero for as long as I have, and he's been through the process I don't even know how many times. So he has a very good, strong working relationship with Kelly and her team. So if you have any hesitation, you have questions that you'd like to throw at Frank before you make your submission or some of your revisions, don't hesitate to reach out. He can assist with QC as well. So I know some grantees Frank is already scheduled to meet with in the coming weeks. If you're not on that list and you want to be, feel free to reach out to Frank directly. I'll drop his email in the chat, or you can work through your Connect All program manager. So welcome, Frank. And with that, I will hand it over to Craig, who will walk through some work zone traffic control.
Hey, everybody. So yeah, I'm the work zone safety unit manager for DOT. My job basically consists of inspecting work zones for the most part, but I'm going to go through today some of the basics of a work zone and how you guys should be selecting a work zone layout. And I'm going to share a slide. I'm not going to go through all of this because I actually prepared this for something else, but it does have a lot of the stuff you guys need. So our work zones in New York, I'm going to really zip through a lot of this here to get to the pertinent stuff here. Our work zones
Hey, Craig.
Yes.
You're cutting out just a little bit. Maybe it might help if you turn off your video. I'm just sorry to interrupt you, but
Yep.
Because I know you're sharing your screen and maybe
Okay.
maybe that'll help. See.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'm home today. My connection's probably not the best in the world, but
I think that's a little bit better already. Yeah. Thank you.
So when we talk about a work zone has four major components. We have the advanced warning area, the transition area, the activity area, and the termination area. All of these are required in our work zones. They can vary based on what you're doing. The advanced warning area is the signage that appears before the work zone that tells you you're approaching a work zone. The transition area is the taper or whatever. If you're closing a lane, closing a shoulder, anything like that, it's the transition to get your vehicle, to tell the vehicles where they need to go. The activity area is where the work is actually occurring. And the termination area is the end of the work zone and returning traffic back to its normal pattern. There's definitely bits and pieces of each work zone that are important. In the advanced warning area, you typically see 3 signs. If you're doing short-term work, those signs can be the collapsible foldable signs. At least the 2 of them can. The first one is always supposed to be a regulatory 5-foot off the ground sign. The transition area, like I said, is just moving vehicles over. Something to point out here is your transition area can be made using protective vehicles or channelizing devices, and our channelizing devices are cones, barrels, or panels. The activity area is where all the work is going, which includes the protective, well, first it includes the buffer space, and some things we should talk about. Both the transition area and the buffer space should be free of equipment, free of vehicles, free of people. The only thing that's allowed in the transition area is an arrow panel, or arrow panels, I should say. And then once you get past that transition area, there's supposed to be a buffer that goes from the end of the taper to the back of a protective vehicle. And I'll talk about the protective vehicles in just a minute. Again, nothing should be in that space, and that space is there to give someone time to correct. If they drive over the cones, it gives them a space to correct their actions before they hit the attenuator. So then we have the protective vehicles with the impact attenuators. Pretty much any road that's over 30 miles an hour requires these impact attenuators and protective vehicles if you're working in that area. A heavy protective vehicle has to be 22,000 pounds or heavier. The light protective vehicle is 9,000 pounds to 21,999. And the attenuator is a crash impact device that basically reduces the risk of fatal injuries when a vehicle hits it. And again, these protective vehicles, we get a lot of utility companies that want to think they don't have to use these. New York State does require them in almost every work zone, and I'll show you the requirements for that shortly. Ahead of the protective vehicle and before the work area is a roll-ahead area, roll-ahead distance we call it. And that area is, if the protective vehicle is hit, that's an area for the protective vehicle to roll into without endangering the workers. So for us, two of the biggest things here, the buffer and the roll ahead, are extremely important because those are the areas that are, it seems like there's nothing there. Some people like to pull in and park there and stuff, but those areas are specifically designed to prevent vehicles from hitting the workers. And then you have the work area, which is wherever work is going on, whether it's off the shoulder, on the shoulder, in the lane, off the shoulder, is all relevant information and stuff that and something you need to be aware of. I just kind of went through all this quickly. So the termination area is just returning traffic back to its original area. If there's flaggers on a job, this is worth mentioning. The flaggers need to be on the shoulder ahead of the work zone. They need to have cones in front of them. They should have cones on the center line as you approach. We hear over and over again that the cones on the center line do more to slow traffic than anything else because there's a physical object on either side of the road. So I like to make sure everybody knows that that's an important feature. We have auto flaggers. You can use these as well, which are instead of a flagger, you can have an automated system. These are not untimers. They do need to be controlled by someone on site. So it's not just park it and wave, just so you're aware. We can use pace vehicles, which is a vehicle to lead people through a work zone, which when you're in a flagger situation, they're extremely effective, but not often used because of the cost of using them. And something else to keep in mind is if there are pedestrian accommodations in your work zone, you have to maintain those pedestrian accommodations through the project. If I remember correctly, you guys are doing mostly utility work, or it's a moving operation. But they now have a thing where if you can't accommodate the pedestrians to the zone, you have to provide a car service to pick people up and drive them through the work zones. So maintain that pedestrian traffic by maintaining sidewalks or creating lanes for pedestrians in your work zone is actually very important. And those are federal requirements that we have to maintain. Let's see. So I'm not gonna go, sorry, this is a presentation I put together for our people for a presentation I'm doing next month, but I wanted to get here. So we provide online a work zone traffic control manual, and you can scan this QR code to get there. I can also put the web address in the chat. And what this is it's an online access portal to our sheets, our standard, our workforce work zone standard sheets. So if you go to that link and you click on the work zone standard sheets over here, I'm just going to quickly put this into the chat so that people have access to that and can bookmark it. Standard sheets are really our sheets that depict work zone setups. So we start off by telling you what the different work zone, we call work durations, are. These are set by federal standards as well. There's special operations, mobile operations, short duration, short term, intermediate term, and long term. Long term is anything that's more than 3 consecutive days of work. Intermediate is 1 daylight period up to 3 consecutive days. Short term is more than an hour and less than a single day. Short duration is up to 1 hour, and then mobile is something that's constantly moving, never stopping for more than 15 minutes. And when you scroll down here, we have a filter system. So let's say you're doing, I'll use the example of Verizon was talking to me a couple weeks ago, and they have a panel on the side of the road that they need to get to, and they're going to close the shoulder. Well, they can go and say, okay, that's a short duration. So they're only going to be there for 15, 20 minutes. It's a non-freeway job. And you look over here, and what this does is it filters out. There's 154 pages to our standard sheets. This app filters out the ones you may not need. So if you look here.
Sorry to interrupt again. Are you potentially sharing that web that maybe you're sharing right now? We see this.
Oh, you still see the PowerPoint?
Yeah, the QR.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. It sounded like you meant to share a different screen.
Yep, I shared the application and not the screen.
Thank you.
Let's try that again. So my apologies there. So if you click that link or use that QR code, it gets you here. When you scroll down, I'm gonna go back with the screen. Sorry. So it gets you to here, and if you look, there's traffic control manual. That's the text of the manual. And then over here, you have 619 standard sheets. That gets you to our drawings that depict work zones. And that's what most people want to see. So as I was saying, the menu over here on the left is a filter system that lets you filter out what you're looking for. So if you went to a short duration and a non-freeway project and you're closing a shoulder, there's one here for work beyond the shoulder. That means you're completely off the pavement, but you're parking a truck, for example. Work on the shoulder, meaning someone's boots are going to be on the shoulder of our road. You go to the shoulder enclosure, and here's the standard sheet. So this filter system is very useful in helping you find the sheets you want to use. I'll scroll up just a little bit here. And a lot of these, this one's only a single sheet, but a lot of them have more than one sheet. So even though this says 619-201, there could be 6 sheets as 201. So you got to check and make sure you're looking at everything and you're checking for additional sheets. So for a shoulder closure, for example, we're telling you here that you have to have a sign that is a distance A from the protective vehicle. And if you go over to the tables over here, well, there's a couple things to show you. This table tells you when a protective vehicle is needed. So if it's a lane closure or encroachment or a shoulder closure or encroachment, workers on foot or work vehicle exposed, if it's greater than 45 miles an hour, you need a heavy vehicle with an impact attenuator. PVH stands for, it's down below here, heavy protective vehicle, and TMIA is a truck or trailer mounted impact attenuator. So this tells you what you need for a truck. And then over here, there's a table that tells you how far apart your signs need to be based on the type of road and the speed limit. So going back to over here to the actual work zone. So we have our sign. That sign has to be the distance A from the protective vehicle. You can use a protective vehicle with a roadwork sign or just a roadwork sign for that first indicator. Then you have a protective vehicle with an arrow panel that's in caution mode and a sign that says no shoulder. So all of these are requirements, and these are all minimum requirements, by the way. And I point that out because up here I'm showing 3 cones between these 2 points. Well, cone spacing is a whole nother category, but it says cone spacing not to exceed 40 feet, which is 1 skip line. So if you're on a line that has dashed white lines, the white lines are 10 feet long and the space between lines is 30 feet long. So that gives you a quick reference for your 40-foot spacing. But that is a minimum spacing, meaning, or I'm sorry, maximum. You can do more than that. So if you wanted to put cones at 20 feet or 10 feet or whatever makes your people on the ground feel safer, do that. I was to point out the cones. I got yelled at by a bunch of people saying the cones don't protect us. The cones are not there to protect you. They're there to provide a visual impediment to the driver to say, hey, I'm not supposed to go over there. So the more cones you put out, the better, because people, when they see cones spaced 40 feet apart, I know I've done it. I sit there and go, is that lane open? And can I fit between those cones and get over there? Because sometimes people think the cones are there because the paint is drying. So they think they can squeeze between them and they'll be fine. So I'm all for more cones if you need more cones or want more cones. But that is a minimum, that 40-foot spacing. And then you have your work area, and that's wherever your people have boots on the ground and wherever they're working. There should be cones along that work area. We always recommend a spotter who stands in back who can alert people if a car is approaching at an unsafe speed or too close, or hitting cones as they drive by. So we try to make these sheets standalone, meaning you don't need to go back to sheet. For example, sheet 619-011 has all of our notes on it and all of our tables. And of course, that's one of my favorite sheets, but we've transcribed all that information that's relative to this work zone onto this individual sheet. So you can find the sheet that applies to your work zone and use and all the information you need should be on that one sheet. For you guys doing this work, we usually try, if it's a contract project with us, we ask for a site specific, we call it a traffic control plan, where you take all these rules that you see on these sheets and you put them on a site plan for your specific site. Now, if you're doing a small project where that's just not practical, or your engineer, you don't have an engineer, or you're doing utility work, you can simply submit one of these standard sheets as your traffic control for your project. But it does have to be stamped by your engineer or included in the package. So you should be looking at, and I'll just go through a couple of, they get more complex as you get up here into like long-term operations. I'm going to go to short-term. Nope. Sorry, you got to uncheck boxes. Sheet 307 is a popular one. That's a 2-lane, 2-way road with a flagger. So let me zoom out here. So you have to close a lane because you're working. You need flaggers on both ends. Some things to note: your flagger there should be a flagger for every approach to the work area. So if you're at an intersection, every road leading into that intersection should have an individual flagger there. So if this was a 3-way intersection, you need 3 flaggers. If it's a 4-way intersection, 4 flaggers. The signs are all laid out here. We have here that we have a required setup and we have a recommended. The recommended has a protective vehicle in there, ideally with a flagger. Cars aren't driving straight into your work zone, so you're typically have. We don't require the protective vehicle in this scenario, but it is definitely recommended. So again, for you guys out there doing these utility projects, and I'm not 100% familiar with the work you're doing, whether you're there for, if it's an all-day stuff, if it's a week-long project, you just got to know go back to your control sheet here, know your job duration, and know what exactly it is you have to do, and you can find the sheet from this filter system here. I don't know that there's, unless people have any specific questions, I think that's kind of covers what I was going to go over, but I'm happy to answer questions or show you specific things if there's anything specific you want to look at.
Yeah, Craig, I have a couple questions. How do you guys determine how close to the road where it requires a lane closure, encroachment? Like, what's the distance?
Yeah, so a lane on a rural road has to maintain a 10-foot width, and a lane on a highway has to maintain 11-foot width. That's the width of the travel lane. So if your vehicle is going to make the lane, so if you're encroaching, technically we like to say if you're over the line, you're encroaching. If you can go over the line, but put cones and still maintain a 10-foot travel lane, then you're okay there. But if you're impeding on that 10-foot travel lane, that's when you have an encroachment situation where you either need to close the lane or or trying to move your stuff off the shoulder, or there's always the option of shifting all the lanes over and using the shoulder on the opposite side, which we do allow, though it's not shown in our sheets. But you do have to have significant cones and channelizing devices so that and signage to depict a lane shift for people to do stuff like that.
Understood. And then I think this is great with the specific. Is there a way to download all these at one time if we wanted
Yes.
like a full document?
All 154 sheets, yes. Let me get you there. I'll put the link to this in the chat as well. I'll give you a few links here. So this is a link to our main page, which kind of links you to everything else. So that's and so right here, you'll see standard sheets in books. If you click on this, look for standard sheets, the latest edition, 619 right here.
And what Craig is pulling up is a PDF. We also have CAD file versions of these as well.
What do you do?
Yeah, they are.
MicroStation, but yes.
Sorry, yes. Thank you.
I say that because I dislike MicroStation, but anyway.
I know.
Yeah, so this link that I'm sending right now, that gets you to the entire package of all the work zones, all the different scenarios. And this, like I said, it's 159 pages with the table of contents and the cover page and all that. We do update these, and we have the option of updating them every 4 months internally. So always pay attention to the issuance date. And when you look at some of the sheets, you'll see markings next to the title block as soon as I find one right here. So if you look, this tells you it's been updated, which sheets are updated and when. So I always recommend that even if you have them printed or you're bookmarked, pop in every once in a while to the main page and just see if new stuff's been issued. Like I said, we internally do updates every 4 months to all of our specifications and standard sheets. So,
Thank you.
any other questions?
Not for me.
Actually, Craig, it's Kelly.
Yep.
I'd heard a rumor that the standard sheets are generally updated every January, every May, and every September. Is that correct, or is that just rumor?
No, those are we do the clearance dates. So those are the dates that yes, basically if you go back to this sheet, you can see that it's January 1st, May 1st, September 1st. These are our dates.
There it is.
So anything that I'm doing right now, like I'm trying to get done by I think it's December 1st. I have to have stuff done for January 1st and so on. So for the May 1st deadline, I have to submit any changes by April 1st. So yeah, it's worth going to this site on occasion and just seeing what the latest version is.
Thank you.
And as I was saying, ideally, we'd love to see site-specific traffic control plans on everything, meaning you've got engineered plans for your site and your designer has put the work zone requirements right into your drawings. But if that's not possible, you can simply submit the sheets that right here from our standard sheets as what you're going to do on your site. And so you can see there's sheets for just about every scenario on here. We don't have much for roundabouts. We don't have much for ramps. So if you're working on an exit ramp or an entrance ramp, excuse me. But otherwise, we have quite a few scenarios here. And yeah, they're all at your fingertips. If nobody has any questions, I'll get out of here. If you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, just one more. Where's the MicroStation files? Where are they located, or do we have to request them?
That I don't know. I never had to.
Last I knew, they were available on our website. Honestly, I usually just Google stuff, but Craig's right there. It's they are available.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never had to go looking for them, so but I think it's each sheet individual, so you can't like download all of
Right.
them. You gotta, do them a sheet at a time.
Sure.
If I find those, I can throw them in the chat.
Thank you.
So unless you guys have questions, I will sign off and let you continue.
Thank you, Craig.
Yep.
Thanks, Craig. And if anyone has any additional questions, you can write into the MIP email address or speak with your program manager directly if it comes up for you later. But thank you, Craig. Passing it back to Kelly.
Okay. So I had, well, hi, everybody. I've spoken at these office hours before, and I wanted to, what I presented, and it should be showing on the screen, but the last time I was here, I gave everybody kind of a cheat sheet of points to keep in mind. And what I've done today is just kind of added to that. So we now have a page 2, which is very exciting. I'm happy to go over any portion of it. I really want to start with some of the new things that I've added. Because as people move along in the process, there's obviously more things to consider. And as issues or questions come up to us, we kind of track them so that these are some of the more frequently asked questions, most frequently addressed issues. So if I can share it with you now and save some time for everybody later, that's what we're hoping to do here. But feel free, once I'm through these next couple topics, feel free to ask me anything. It doesn't have to be related to these topics we're talking about today, because again, the point of this is to try and help curb some of those questions or concerns, before they come up. So you can kind of see the difference in font there. So I started off today with signatures. We've talked about this briefly before, but in PermaTrack, keep in mind that there are essentially 2 permits that you're receiving. One is the use and occupancy permit that allows you to be there long term. The other is the work permit, right, to allow you to do the work in our right of way. Because there are 2 permits, there's usually 2 different permittees. I'm going to own the fiber, but this is the person that's going to do the installation for us. Both permittees need to sign the terms and conditions that are found in PermaTrack. That is in our PermaTrack page. We have a section for authorized signatures. It shows us exactly who has signed and gives us access to see who still needs to sign, right? So if you're submitting an application and you don't know who the contractor is yet, and that's understandable, you can submit an application even if you don't know the contractor. It allows us to get started on the work, and then when you do know the contractor's name, you can add it in. But also keep in mind that when you add in that contractor, we also need their signature on those terms and conditions of the permit. You will see, and I think we've mentioned the DocuSign before, how people think that, oh, this might be spam or not really required. If you see something from DocuSign related to a Perm 75, it's us telling you we need your signature. PermaTrack has caveats in place that it will not allow us to issue a permit until everybody has signed those terms and conditions. If you're having technical difficulties or emails are incorrect in PermaTrack, you won't get the DocuSign won't come to you, obviously, if the email is wrong that you give us. So we have an option for people. If you're having difficulties, you can sign a paper copy of it and upload it in as a regular document in PermaTrack, and that'll help keep these applications moving. But we absolutely need signatures from every permittee and the applicant for each submission that you put into PermaTrack. Surveys. So any new movement of earth requires a survey. That includes replacement poles, right? So whenever you're required to submit a survey to us, we have guidance documents, and I could go through it, but it's a significant document about what we want to see on those surveys. Specifically, we need to see all the utilities that are in that area and their depths. If you have questions about surveys, you can reach out to me separately. We can go through it in more detail, because I want to say that every circumstance is a little different, but it's really not. If a survey is required, we want to see those utilities. We want to see the depths of the utilities. We want to see cross sections of the profile, I guess, of where the fiber is intended to go. So surveys are complicated. We will guide you through it as much as possible, but just keep in mind that if you're doing anything where there's movement of earth, you need to submit a survey to us.
Kelly,
Yeah.
sorry, I just want to tag on to that because so the survey, what's important that we also show the proposed work overlaid to that survey. So the survey isn't just a check the box, we provided the survey. The survey is important in that it's correlated with the proposed work that you're doing. So it's all shown on one plan. And I only say that because it's been submitted differently. And thank you for letting me chime in.
You can chime in anytime. No, it's a really good point. And also with underground work, any underground work will require a PE stamp on those plans. If it is not underground work, we are okay with it being a digital signature by the person designing those plans. But if it's anything underground, we need that PE stamp. So please keep that in mind because we've returned a handful because they're not correctly certified. And again, if it's a survey, that has to be stamped by a licensed surveyor. So keep that in mind. Something else we're coming up against, and I know we've talked about how when we're dealing with interstates, we have to deal with the Federal Highway Administration. I don't mean it like that. We don't have to deal with them, but we are required to loop them in the process for permit review, right? And part of that process, and the reason why it takes so long, is that we have to undergo a pretty thorough environmental review. If you have already done environmental review work, if you already have some documentation on your side, there is a question in Permatrack that says, have you completed any seeker or other environmental reviews? Yes or no. Maybe I can tell you I've seen 3 or 4 of them checked yes in my 7-8 years of doing this. If you have any environmental documentation, and this is going to go up to FHWA, or even if it's not going up to FHWA, we have to review environmental for every permit. Okay. If you have something, please upload it as a document. You can label it as other environmental, doesn't matter. But the question is located on the details page. There's a work description, there's project information, there says, is this a Connect All or other state-funded program? You would check yes. And then right below that, it says, have you completed any other environmental or seeker reviews? If you have, please check yes, and please upload those documents. That will, again, save us time. It'll expedite our environmental reviews. Next up, submitted applications and communications. Oh, yeah.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Your connection is it my connection or your connection? I'm trying to figure out if it's just me. Rose?
I think it's yours, Tina.
I was going to say I can hear myself, but
Yeah.
Okay, I will stop chiming in then. Thank you.
That's okay. Can everyone hear me okay? I mean,
yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Yeah, no issues here.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Okay, so submitted applications and communications. So whenever there's communications in Permatrack, whether it's under the communications tab or the message board, there's multiple ways to communicate in Permatrack. But anything we request is going to go to the named applicant in Permatrack, right? So I know that there's levels of people involved in these applications, right? There's the municipality, there's the designer, there's the applicant working on behalf of the permittee. There's contractors, right? So keep in mind that whoever is named the applicant, they're going to be getting all the communications back and forth in Permatrack. So when you choose that applicant name and that applicant email and that applicant phone number, please just take some time to think about who do you really want all of this communication to go to. And if it's someone, let's say it's your applicant that you've hired to help you through this process, that's great. Just make sure that the applicant also knows to forward you anything that's important, or if you want to see more, you have to let your applicant know. We can't duplicate emails. We can't through Permatrack. It's one shot and it's just to that applicant. Speaking of, if you're going to be working with Frank Totillo, and I highly encourage Frank's services, he's very easy to work with and he's a very knowledgeable person about the DOT and our application process. Frank will need to have access to your Permatrack records. And I know that is something that you'll have to consider individually, but when we get status updates and status requests, we understand this is time sensitive and you need to know where your applications are. But if you have access to Permatrack, you should be able to determine that on your own, right? You should be able to access Permatrack or reach out to your applicant and say, what's going on with this permit number? The more often you do that and the less time you take from us to review those and to double check everything, it's time that we could have been using to evaluate your application instead of just doing a status check on it. If something is off track, if you think that something is, has been missed, if you think that you've got everything submitted and it's not moving, yes, of course you can give me a call. I'm happy to look at that. But we ask that you check Permatrack first. We ask that you communicate through Permatrack first. Permatrack is designed to be transparent. It's designed to be able to show the applicant exactly where they are in the process, and to keep those notes and those records. So we're trying to use Permatrack as it was intended. So please, again, select your applicant name and email, make sure that they're correct, select them wisely, and try and use Permatrack first before you directly email anybody on the team. Although I am happy to get emails. I don't want you to think that's not the case, but yeah, a lot of my day is spent responding to emails when I could be reviewing applications. I guess that's what it boils down to.
Once you there's a few questions in the chat.
Oh my God, I'm so focused on talking, I haven't even looked at the chat. Okay.
I think it starts with John's question.
All right.
Just to confirm,
is this
the
John
applicant. Yes. I don't know,
Hey,
John, if you want to come off mute and ask yourself.
I will gladly come off mute. Good afternoon. John Cressman. Very well said, by the way. Thank you, Kelly. You pronounced it perfectly.
All right.
So the question is this. So currently I am the one receiving the information for the app for anything related to the perm, right?
Okay.
And I have FAR as my technical consultant who's doing really most of the work, right? So can I make them the applicant, quote unquote, and they can forward along to me anything that needs to be signed? I think that's where some of our application hangups are, is that the communication comes to me and then I'm then forwarding information to them, which creates a lag.
So here's how I would summarize it. Anybody can be the applicant. Anybody can be the applicant. But that would be the person that you trust to get that first information and to disseminate it correctly. We're a lot less flexible about who the permittees are, right? I mean, the permittees have to be the person who's going to own the fiber and have long-term maintenance. And the permittee for the work permit has got to be the person that's doing the work, or someone who will subcontract out that work. But the applicant, it can be anybody, and you can change that. So
okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
There's one from Kevin Reagan.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey there, just wondering how this whole process applies in a non-fiber in the right of way project. So wireless telecom facilities on private land needing a driveway that originates right at the right of way. So just curious about that.
Yeah, so you would still use Permatrack, right? So Permatrack has about 50, 60 different work types. Fiber has a very specific work type because Permatrack is designed so that when you say my work type is fiber, it comes right to the team that I'm on, right? But if you have just driveway access, I couldn't tell you the work type off the top of my head because I don't want to tell you the wrong one, but there is a separate work type for driveway access, and it would be reviewed just like any other application that comes into Permatrack. The difference is that work type would forward it to the exact right person to look at that type of application. So you know what? I can get you, the list of work types is actually when you log on to Permatrack and you're creating a new application, there is a list of work types right there. But if you want, I can get back to you with some details about driveway access permits, if that helps.
That would be helpful. We have a handful of those, and I'm actually not even familiar with Permatrack yet. So just getting a link to that and a little guidance would be great. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, sounds good. I'll jot that
Kevin,
down.
that only applies to state roads also.
Oh, right. Well, yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That it's in the chat where he meant non-state roads. That's on the municipality that is responsible for that road.
Yeah.
County, town, whatever it may be.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah, and for your purposes for our driveway permit application, you can just go through, like Kelly said, the permit application process, and there are high-level categories for a driveway work type. So you can just start there.
Okay, any distinction between extremely rarely used driveways, such as a telecom facility, right, as opposed to an active
So
driveway?
it's up to the reviewer of that permit as to what they're going to need to see. There may be some, I'll just leave the door open a little bit there. I expect they would. I am not that permit reviewer, so I can't speak for them. But
That's fine. I can go through the process, figure it out.
Generally, if it's a commercial property, which it would be for a facility, even though it's not heavily used, it still would be a commercial driveway permit. But the reviewer may allow a smaller driveway, we'll say, since it doesn't need to have two directional track. Like there's other requirements that commercial driveways need. So
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mhm. Any other questions? I don't have the chat up because I'm sharing my screen, so I'm just going to depend upon you guys to shout them out.
I think Deb had one.
Is this Deb Husby?
It is Deb Husby. It's your favorite pain in the patoot, Kelly.
You're one of my favorites. Let's just leave it at that. We can cut off the patoot part. What's going on, Deb?
You had, it was something I was going to shoot a different message to you in Permatrack about, but you brought it up.
Okay.
And so I'm going to ask. Now, I have had John, our permittee, sign the T's and C's for the Perm 75s. And we've also had Mastec do that as well. And to the best of my knowledge, they have been uploaded. What is the best way for us to communicate to you? These documents are uploaded and ready for your review. Is it through the comments in the Permatrack? Is it something you all will find when you're reviewing the uploaded documents? What's the most expeditious manner?
Well, there's two ways we'll do it, right? So if we're reviewing the application for the first time, we go through every document that's been uploaded, right?
Okay.
So if it's there, we see it. If you're adding the contractor later on in the process, then whenever you upload a document, I get an email. If I'm the primary reviewer, I get an email saying something has just been uploaded into Permatrack number 1234567.
Okay.
And I can go to that application, find the newly uploaded document, and apply it. We can do a paper override for those signatures. So we use both depending upon the circumstance.
We use both depending upon the circumstances. Okay. I think that's it. I think I'm good.
Okay. We do have, for anyone who's interested, and you can send me a quick email, we do have those paper terms and conditions. We realize that it's hard to get everybody on Permatrack. That's why we try and use DocuSign. But DocuSign is not a perfect system. I completely acknowledge that. So if it's easier for you to do an upload with your application, we can and upload that terms and conditions signed. That's fine with us. Okay, as long as we have it.
Okay.
Any other questions, Deb? Anybody else?
Kelly, it's Frank. I just have a comment. You mentioned that I would need access to Permatrack, but in order to see these applications that are in progress, I would need administrative rights. Is that correct?
Yeah. So as an administrator, that would give Frank access to see all the applications that you've submitted to the DOT on behalf of Madison County, Schoharie County, City of Syracuse, any of the grantees. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'll just move on real quick. And again, I think we talked about this in one of our previous meetings, but it bears repeating. So you get through all of these hurdles, right? When you get your permit in your hands, a couple things we always just want to remind you is that number one, any contractor on the road should always have physical copies of the permits on hand, right? Ready to show anybody who pops up, ready to there so that you can set up the work zone traffic control as it was agreed upon. There so that you're aware of any conditions that were made about when you do the work or how you do the work, right? Or how you leave the condition of the area, the work area after you've done the work. So contractors should always have copies of those permits on hand when they're doing their work. No installation during snow and ice, right? We are in February in New York State. You know, snow and ice season can go anywhere from October to April. You know, it's difficult to predict, right? Our Buffalo weather, our Syracuse weather, our Oswego weather. So the rule of thumb is that no work, no installation should be completed while we are actively plowing, salting, brining. If we are in the middle of our snow and ice response, we do not want anyone on the side of the road. That's for your safety as well as ours. So that's, you know, there are a lot of options out there. There's a lot of resources to be able to tell you weather forecasting. And of course, whenever you get a permit, you're supposed to give us 72 hours notice before installation. Any installation work begins. So you should be reaching out to our residency. That name and phone number is right on the front page of the permit. You should also be reaching out to the Regional Traffic Operations Center. Sometimes there's a separate form to fill out for them. But if you give us that proper notice and we're in snow and ice, we're going to be able to reach out to you and say, hey, you can't be out there. So please keep those three things in mind. That's, again, safety for you and safety for us. So I think that's all I had in terms of new topics. But again,
I have one other question.
shoot.
So, as you know, our contractor was chosen after we input all of our permits.
Mm-hmm.
When I go in and add him to the permittee list, he'll automatically get the things he needs, right?
He will get the DocuSign. Yeah,
Okay.
the DocuSign
Okay.
thing. It would still be up to you to upload the insurance requirements for that contractor.
Sure.
If they haven't already been uploaded. But yes, the
Okay.
DocuSign will automatically generate.
Automatically take over. Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions from folks?
I will say that for this, the points to keep in mind, the sheet that I'm updating here, I did send that to John. So if anyone would like a copy, I'm happy to forward it to you. But I think that John and Bill from Connect All said that they would forward it to you all as well. So
yeah, they're going to have a look, and then Selena will send that out to everyone.
Perfect. Okay.
All right. Thanks so much, Kelly. If there are any other questions, feel free to reach out to Selena, your program managers, the MIP email. Yeah, any other closing thoughts from folks? And thank you, Frank. We're very excited to have you on board. Remember to forward those questions as well. All right, great. We will be in touch. Thank you all for joining. And thanks again, Kelly and Craig and team for joining us today. Have a good one.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.